Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I will try to make this video short tonight, hopefully under 10 minutes, so it'll be easily to share with all of you friends. I want to talk briefly about last night's shooting. I mostly want to talk about the story behind the story. In the next few minutes, I'm going to offend a lot of people. I'm going to offend black people. I'm going to offend white people. But it's necessary to get the elephant out of the room to illustrate my point. First off, I want to address last night's ambush on the Dallas police officers. What was supposed to be a peaceful protest turned very violent very quickly. Although there were many people there to express their frustration, there were people also there to incite violence, which is a crime. Those are the people I want to address today. The ones that were there to incite violence. Who are these people? Because we saw the peaceful protesters. But who are these violent, malicious people? The very meticulous, coordinated ambush was no random act of protest. This was a very well-planned, well-thought-out, and very well-funded operation. The main point is funded by who? Well, it's on the record that the whole Black Lives movement, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, was created on the false pretenses. If you remember the Michael Brown incident in Ferguson, Missouri, that's where Black Lives Matter started. This is the story that you think you know that was never clarified by the news. And please research this. There was one lady that gave the statement that hands in the air, don't shoot. And that's how all of this got started. She later retracted her statement that never happened. After the ballistics investigation and the forensics investigation, and about a dozen eyewitnesses said that, to quote one of them, Michael Brown charged the police officer like a linebacker. Based on the ballistics, he was shot at close intervals, very close, because the powder residue and everything else. So all of the stories match. And then the lady that said the hands up, don't shoot, was later retracted. And once she got questioned, she said, well, I don't know why I said it and whatever. That's not what happened. And she was one of the witnesses that said, yeah, he charged after the cop. That's the reason he wasn't prosecuted. It's not because he was white. And not because Michael Brown was black. Michael Brown was a criminal. I'm sorry if I'm offending people, but it's necessary to get this point across. That is when Black Lives Matter movement was created. But created by who? This was created and funded by George Soros. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail about George Soros just for the sake of time. I promise I'm going to try to keep this short. But George Soros, very quick, he's a super billionaire. He gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Obama's his campaign contribution. And in turn, Obama has given him $1 billion through a company he owns, which is Petrobras. During the moratorium in 2010 after the BP oil spill, he owns a $1 billion stake in Petrobras. Obama gives $2 billion to Petrobras. Anyway, it's a back-scratching operation. He's been known to crash currencies, crash economies, and ruin countries. And he said he was going to do that here. That's what he is doing. That's why when you see these protests, there are highly sophisticated signs. And people didn't just come from their house to protest. There's great signs to protest. It's funded by George Soros, who is one of the main big players who's running our government. So it's not your average everyday black person who's leading the charge on all of this. Yes, some of the black people are drinking the Kool-Aid. Look at last night. There were peaceful protesters, and then these few black people, come out and ambush these police officers. If you're going to do that, at least ambush the police officer on the question, and don't go to, these police officers that were murdered probably never killed anyone. Statistically speaking, by the FBI's website of murders, even for blacks, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than getting murdered by a police officer. Those are the facts. Now, what the news media does, which is all ran by the Council on Foreign Relations, which is all part of the big elite club, which you and I are not invited to, they blow these stories up. So it'd be the same thing if they blew up a lightning. Someone gets struck by lightning, blow up that story or this story. They're doing this to divide us. Okay? So this whole pretense of Black Lives Matter, never, the Michael Brown situation never happened the way that was. Michael Brown was a thug. That's why the police were called, because he was attempted to rob a convenience store, and he had his gun, bullying, and everything else. He was a bully. Now, if you want to question the last two incidents that happened the last couple of days, it's totally different things. We don't have the information on that. I'm not defending any of it. I don't want to get into that. But I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. It's not what you think it is. It is funded by the globalists on the exact reason to divide this country and make white people hate you more. White people watch the TV and see all these blacks rioting, and which that's a whole nother story of why they letting the riotings go on in Baltimore and Ferguson. But to keep it short, that's what they want. They want white people to watch this and hate you more. That's exactly what they want. So the more you do this and you protest, you are just falling into play of the elite. They give you leaders such as excuse me, such as Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is an ex-FBI informant from the 1980s. He will do whatever Obama or whatever the elite, Hillary Clinton, all these other far left loons who incite this violence. He will do whatever they say. Jesse Jackson, the same thing. If you take what Martin Luther King said and what these two guys are saying, it's completely different. Go listen. You go on YouTube, listen to what Martin Luther King says. And when I Had a Dream, talks about colorblind society and all of this. I was watching a video this morning. He's talking about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, how all men are created equal and all men are entitled to the right for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. All men, even though it was written when there were slaves, all men are created equal now. All that is in the past. I've never owned a slave. Nobody alive today was ever a slave. There are actual slaves in China. Your iPhones, all these devices are made by actual slaves, little kids. Anyway, moving on. A real role model would be, how about Ben Carson? He's a renowned brain surgeon. In fact, the only man to successfully, to my knowledge, separate two conjoined twins. This man is phenomenal. Why isn't he a role model? No, he's an Uncle Tom. He is demonized. He's just a lunatic, just a fraud. That is crazy. Look at the success of that man and listen to his message. There's others. Colonel Allen West. Listen to these people's words. These are really true black leaders. Clarence Thomas sits on the Supreme Court. True leaders. Very conservative. Conservative means you're conserving the Constitution. And these guys do that. You take Barack Obama. How about all this? How good was it supposed to be for the black people when we all as a country voted for him? 98% of blacks voted for Barack Obama because he was black. He was supposed to be the epiphany for the blacks. Okay? What happened? Where's all this money? Supposedly there was a pool of money that everybody was going to get, and black people were going to rise from the ashes and move forward. Well, how about this? The facts are that black unemployment has doubled under the Obama administration. Why isn't that broadcast in the media? No, you have Obama fabricating numbers saying overall unemployment across the country is 4%. Or 3 or 4.5, whatever it is he's lying about now, which is totally false. It's at least 10. So, black people, I was in the military. I have black friends that I would take a bullet for. I work with black co-workers who, great people. I'd take a bullet for them. In fact, in the military, we were so close. We would play basketball just when you run out of different options, first platoon versus second platoon and all this stuff. We played basketball games, white versus black, just to have something different to do. Great people. We all are in the same boat, ruled by the same people. Now we'll move over to the white people. Let's piss a few white people off. it is true, white people, that black people have been held down in society by white people. Not by me, not by you, but by the same white people that are holding us down. When you get to the top of the food chain, the elite, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all these guys that are above Obama, that Obama takes his message from, they're holding us all down. It is true that the CIA runs almost 100% of all of the drug trafficking in the United States. But who gets caught on the streets is the black homeless guy, or it's mostly the black man. It is a setup. It's come out. It is declassified. From early in the 1900s, our government that created the ghettos and project housing to force the blacks into there. Sorry to piss you off, but that's the way it is. And now blacks, they've you know, I mean, not all of them. I mean, you have very successful, but I'm saying it's almost just nature that they don't know better, that it looks like all white people has done this, but it's not. It's the government. It's the same white people that are ruling the world. It is a bunch of white people, a bunch of Jews actually, but not hitting anything on the Jewish people. But they're running the world. They're running me too, the same as they're running you. So the point being, if we don't all come together, we're going to all fall apart. This country, we're all the same. We're ruled by the same people. The same people are suppressing all of us. Nobody, I'm not suppressing black people. Black people aren't suppressing us. We need to come together, because while we're fighting and worrying about racism and Republican versus Democrat, Jews and Muslims and Christians and all of these other things, the country is crumbling. They're passing all these laws. Anytime that there's a protest and there's any kind of gun, anything to do with a gun, what is the first thing? What happened this morning? Right after the Dallas shooting last night, gun control. They'll say one sentence, and this is what's so sick about these people. They'll say one sentence, yeah, such a travesty that happened last night, but we need gun control. It's like gun control is on the forefront of their agenda, because gun control is the first step needed to take over your country. The last thing a government needs is a well-armed and informed society. And it could lead to martial law. You know, you keep having these riots. Let's say blacks start shooting whites and whites start shooting blacks, and let's just say it's all out war. Well, what's going to happen? Here comes martial law. What is martial law? It means it's basically like an executive order from the president, where the military has rules over everything. Right now, the military can't do that because of certain documents causing comatata and other things. But they're the supreme leaders, and martial law is basically dictatorial regime. We don't want that. We want a free and open society. Okay, we are a republic, not a democracy. I'll do another video on that later, describing the two. We are a constitutional republic. We're all together. All men are created equal. The black community does things a little bit different than the white community, but we're all together. I work with them. I was in the military with them. We're all Americans. And if we let this get between us, while our minds are focused on this, look, everybody has already forgotten about the hearings yesterday where Hillary Clinton was scot-free. We've already forgotten about that because we were focused on last night's shootings. That's all part of it. This was planned and funded by George Soros, which is the same people, one of the elites. Just remember that. Take my word for this. Please, don't just take my word. Tell me I'm crazy. Show me where I'm wrong. So go research it yourself so that you can come and show me where I'm wrong. Please do that. That's actually how I got into all this, trying to disprove other things. So America, excuse me, again, I'm dealing with a sinus issue. America, it's time we come together. White, black, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. We need to realize what the government is doing to us. That is our enemy. Not necessarily the government itself, but the elite ruling class that are ruling the government. And I will make videos on that explaining further. We need to unite as one. If we don't stick together, we will all hang separate. Thanks for watching.